Good morning. Today is day 43 of our 66-day challenge for starting a new habit and changing some behaviors in our lives. I'm going to see if I can do this one justice. It requires a little bit of drawing on my part. I'm not the perfect drawer, especially when it comes to just easy basic shapes. And I don't know how well it's going to show up on the board for what you could see. So we're going to try to make it big and see what we can do. We spent a little bit of time going into the first habit of the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. We're looking at be proactive and have spent some time on proactive versus reactive language, victim versus accountable on the accountability ladder, and wanted to put this up here for you to check out. So as we're talking about this, things to consider are your sphere of influence and your, circle of concern, so to speak. So if these are the things, where are we? If these are the things, is that good? Yep, great. If those are the things that we are concerned about, so this is our circle of concern, and this is what we're not concerned about, then here is where obviously we are going to spend our focus, okay, on the items that we're concerned about. Now, what's interesting is that not all of those things are things that we can control. So inside of the things that we could control, we have our circle of influence or sphere of influence, as some people have called it over the years. So circle of influence, and then these are this is still our circle of concern. So if it's outside of our circle of influence, first off, what do you think that means? That's right. If it's outside of our circle of influence, then it is something that we cannot control. So it might be something that we're concerned about, but it's not something that we can control. Key distinguishing factor there, something that you should have brought to mind while you're looking at the items of things that concern you. Now, we've talked again before about what you focus on expands. So if you want to focus on something and expand something, what do you think it is that you want to focus on? The circle of influence. Because if we're looking at these two circles, we don't want our circle of concern to get bigger, either to literally get larger or to have more things that we can be concerned about that we don't have control about. So what we want to focus on is our circle of influence. How do you focus on the circle of influence? By working on the things you can control, the be, right? By be proactive, don't be reactive. The circle of concern is full of our reactive language. The things that we say affect us that we don't have any control on. So if we sit in that negative energy space and grumble about the things that concern us but we can't control, then what that does is it literally diminishes our influence. We're telling ourselves and we're telling the world that we can't control these things. And when you talk about the things that you can't control, you begin to lose control. When you focus on the things that you can control, your influence gets larger. In fact, it can get to the point that it actually ends up inversing, where your concerns are smaller and your influence is larger. Well, how does that happen, Jeff? Right? I don't even understand. How in the world could I end up having concerns so small that my influences are larger? Well, that's where it starts becoming, when you start becoming a leader. It actually reminds me of an executive story. And in that executive story, there was a president of a company. I'm trying to remember what book it came from, but there was a president of a company that was a little bit of a micromanager, and he was always telling people what to do and go for this and go for that, and telling people what to do. So much so that the other executives would just grumble outside of the boardroom and say, he's always telling us what to do. Does he not think I know how to do my job? Like, I don't even get it. This is unfair. I just wish he would retire. I wish somebody would replace him. Hopefully the board replaces him at some point. Meanwhile, the president just continued to put that message out there, go for this, go for that. And he kept looking at his people as if they were incompetent because they barely were meeting up to his demands. Meanwhile, one of the executives decided to work hard on his circle of influence. And not only did he push the items that were given and go above and beyond, he tried thinking into what the president's intent was with those demands and predicting what might be coming. So again, moving up that accountability ladder. Like, this is what I'm being asked to do. I'm going to do these things and then predict what's necessary and analyze what's necessary in order to improve upon what's being asked of me. And as he did that and brought those results back to the meetings, the president began just looking at this guy saying, this guy's amazing. This woman's amazing. And looking at the results and thinking, wow, this executive is bringing outstanding results. It's like they're reading my mind. He started to point that out in the group, and as he did, the other executives that were standing in the halls and around the water cooler and the coffee pot and having the gift of gab and started complaining about this executive, saying, I don't understand. Why is this executive getting all this good attention? So as that started happening, the executives started actually exerting their circle of influence upon the other executives. And again, predicting what they may need and helping them and exerting their circle of influence and their analyzation and their abilities to actually start positively affecting the whole organization. So the 360-degree leader, John C. Maxwell writes about. And we can do that too, right? Like, this is the paradigm shift. When you start looking at a situation and realizing that you have so much control over how you perceive the world, that your world changes, that is when your circle of influence gets larger than your circles of concern, because you can change your mindset to change the world. We mentioned yesterday a little bit about spouses and about love, how love is a verb. In the same way that this executive changed his or her circle in the story, we can do the same as a good spouse. If we look at our spouse and say, hey, like, look at all these things that you're not doing right. Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Again, that's not us. That's not in our control. It's why stress about it? Do what you can do to change what you're in control, and that's you. So if you're upset about something, take care of it, right? Like, if you don't feel as if you're being loved, then love. If you don't feel as if you're being treated right, then treat right. Leave those cute notes that you used to leave when you were dating. Buy the flowers, make the dinner, do the dishes, clean up the floor, take the kids out for some fun, find a babysitter and organize some fun. If you're missing out on those pieces, show what you're missing. Be who you're missing, and you'll find that love that comes back to you. Again, we control our circle of influence. How do we control it? How do we make that influence larger? We become better listeners. We could become a better partner, better students at school, better employees at work. Make and keep your commitments. That grows your circle of influence. And finally, smile. Be genuinely happy. And you'll see that those aspects start to change in your life. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you some more tomorrow.